I'm interested in what hardware format you're using to preserve all this digital data.
So we have, I just told you one of the good things about libraries, which is what we like to collaborate and expose our collections. One area in which we're not as good as, say, museums is with artifacts, with physical artifacts. That's not, I mean, books, of course, are physical artifacts, but they're there primarily as vessels for the content that's in them. We have collected hardware. We have, between the Apple collection and the Cabrinety collection, which is our software collection and so on, we have well over 100 microcomputer and console and other kinds of platforms and a lot of other electronic devices in the collection. That is not, as we move forward, going to be more than a museum piece kind of thing for us. It's not going to be an essential part of the delivery of the information that's in the collections. For that, as I mentioned earlier, we're migrating everything. That's going to something called the Stanford Digital Repository, which is took about 5 years to develop, was launched a couple of years ago, and is a sort of industrial strength preservation solution for library collections with our own server farm. In fact, multiple server farms. There's a duplication aspect to it. That's where our digital collections end up residing. And that, I have to tell you, I have no idea what it looks like. They're not going to let me see it. It's managed, of course, by our IT department. I have access to it as a curator. I can deposit materials into that repository. And it's, for people who've written about this subject, it's a very interesting transition if you think about the life of the technology. You know, if you think of something like Pong wouldn't be a good example. I was going to go to Pong, but I realized somebody working on an IBM PC, because of not being based on code, somebody working on a word processor on IBM PC, in the late 1980s, had a certain experience of working with the devices that they had, with the display, the keyboard, all these things, what they produced, printing out the information. We have all of that stuff in our collections. We have IBM PCs, we have Apple computers and all of that. But our delivery of that information is going to be somebody going to the web and retrieving data stored on our digital repository, which is great from the point of view of the information that they receive, but that experience of working with the hardware in a certain way, working with the devices, what you did to produce the documents will be lost. At least, I think it's fair to say that for a library, that's not as high a priority to deliver that experience as it might be, say, for the Computer History Museum, to figure out a way that we could give somebody the experience of working on historical hardware.
Emphasize, I was also talking about what you actually preserve the digital data on, and you say Stanford has some sort of a...
That's the digital, we are basically off of portable physical media, sneakernet kind of ways of delivering data around. With the advent of the digital repository, our end game here, or our long-term game, let's say, maybe not end game, will be to have digital materials on the digital repository and move everything off of original media, basically.